our 4 kids, my wife and me, for a long trip. 9,500 miles, 35 days, 15 states, a dozen national parks and national monuments, some crazy fun, spectacular adventures, 2 weeks visiting family in British Columbia. This is what we packed. This is what we should have packed and the mistakes we made, and that stuff we packed way too much of. Packing for 5 weeks of car camping, this time on Bike Physics. Here is our top box. It's actually relatively small and it's got this big dip taken out of it. If that were rounded and didn't have that like dip in there, it'd be really, actually quite fine. But it's got the dip, and so I can't fit as much stuff in it as I want. Plus this lock, a little bit finicky and weird. So this is what I have in it. Ouch. Inside, got the big tent here, the little tent back there. This is 4 children's sleeping bags. This is an inflatable mattress for, well, one of the inflatable mattresses for me and my wife. Under here, this is another inflatable mattress for me and my wife. This is for the little children. Got a couple of tiny inflatables for the 2 boys, the bigger boys. A couple of inflatable mattresses that need to be thrown away because they don't hold the air anymore. And the big double rectangular mattress for us, for my wife and me. Fits all that we need, but when you close this thing down and try to latch it, a lot of times it doesn't turn. It just click, 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 click. You can't do it. Right now it's been settled in, but usually in the morning I have to bang on it, pull down on it, twist it, turn it, open it up, push things back. It's annoying, but it's worked really well. And it says Volvo on it. So it was like a $50 Facebook Marketplace purchase a few years ago. It's worked fine for us. Pillows, inflatable pillows. I thought these were great. Really nice because you can take them, unstrap those things. They roll out nice and big. You can inflate them. You can zip them up. See that zipper? They zip in half and make a nice big fat thick pillow, and they work really nicely. And they're not just like a big balloon, and they worked really well. I liked them a lot between my knees while I'm sleeping on my side and under my head, but they both started deflating. Of course, our Adventure Ridge from Aldi, and they worked pretty well for a couple of years, but I guess they're probably disposable, right? Yeah, total fail, both of them. And the canopy. Got a canopy that we use. Used it once. Didn't have any rain the entire vacation, but we have used it before and it works really well. Lots of space in the back of a minivan. Here's a general organizational principle. On the left-hand side, we have the toiletries, and then a box of commonly used stuff, and then balls on top of that for quick use, and shoes, and then that's a dirty clothes bag, and all the clothes in separate bags for 6 people on the right-hand side. Big black box, that's for cooking. Underneath that, there's the basement with 2 big boxes, and the sub-basement. Last in, last out, right? This is the top box that is most easily accessible. Got a couple of caps for the family in it, and got some bread in there, and this is the light for the camp, a whole bunch of cereals, and then this is my early morning coffee making gear, a little filter, and this is hot chocolate mix for my wife. This is the clothesline, last in, more coffee. This for hot water, for washing dishes, coffee. That's it. That's last in stuff, really easily accessible. I have some wipes in there too, and often some paper towels. Clothing. We packed for 8 days. This is one son's bag. This is the daughter's bag. This is another son's bag. This is accessible cold weather clothing, just a sweatshirt for everybody. And this is my bag, and this is my wife's bag. Now, oh yeah, another son's bag over here. Turns out that we packed for 8 days. The plan was pack for 8 days, have everything set up for 8 days. Now, for me, I packed pretty well. My wife, she always overpacks for everything and refuses to ever actually consider that she ever did. So she continues to overpack, but whatever. This thing right here, we planned for them to bathe every day or every other day. So this kid, this one down at the bottom, that black and yellow one, black Nike bag, that was supposed to be, bathe every day, which is never gonna happen. which we didn't think that much about. This one, she was supposed to bathe every other day, but every 3 days basically. You know, you think it's irresponsible parenting to do that, but that's just what actually turns out to be true when you're traveling almost 10,000 miles in a very short period of time. And so anyway, they bathed every other day rather than every day, or every third day rather than every second. And so we have at least one, if not two, extra sets of clothing for each of those children. That's an extra backpack or two, which increases the space used by that stuff, which then, well, messes everything up here, because then you have to pile stuff up and it's difficult to get to everything. And okay, so then there's my bag. This thing, by the way, this mother load, this e-bags mother load, spectacular. 8 days of clothing, at least for the summer. Tons of space left with compression, everything. That's my wife's bag, which needs compression to make it a little bit smaller. And this down here at the bottom, almost at the bottom, this is the cold weather clothing, jackets and things like that, which we didn't actually use. A sweatshirt and a windbreaker, definitely, but we had jackets too, which was a bit unnecessary. And down here at the bottom, we went to the library, picked up a whole bunch of books. And so as they used books, we would take some of the books out of there and replace the red ones with the unread ones. And these are some chairs. This is swimming gear. This is, my wife liked this because it's a collapsible bucket for cleaning of dishes and things like that. Like that quite a bit. On the right hand side, we have a mattock. This is a mattock and a hammer and an extension cord, which is probably a bit too short, but works out really well. This net keeps everything from falling out, because it tends to fall out. And once you put half the stuff in there, bring the net up, and that works pretty well. So here's the setup. Big black box, that is for the food. The basement down there, that's for a whole bunch of stuff that is sometimes used, but underneath the food, never while not camping. All this stuff on the right hand side, that's all the clothing and individual, not hard-sided boxes, backpacks and duffel bags. This right here, these were three kind of fails. This one right here, this bag, which hung around with us the whole time, it has within it a soccer ball and a basketball and a football and a couple of tennis balls and a frisbee. Took the frisbee out a couple of times, took the tennis ball out a couple of times, had the soccer ball out for a couple of weeks while playing with family. But yeah, that needs to be eliminated. Maybe just a soccer ball, tennis ball, frisbee, something simple like that. That was way too much space, and it sat on top and it moved forward into the boys' space. This is fail number 2. Way too many shoes. My shoes are gigantic, and I brought an extra pair. Now I needed boots because I just a year ago had a motorcycle accident. The foot and ankle do funny things sometimes, so I brought an extra pair of shoes that wasn't necessary. Wife and kids, and they brought extra sandals, extra shoes that they never ever use. So this is fail number 1 because we brought too many shoes, and secondly, that needs to be compressible. It needs to be shoved into some space which is smaller than what it is, and it sits on top and it just takes up way too much space and is annoying because stuff falls out of it. This is the other one. This is a stretchy mesh bag. Now the mesh is important because that is the dirty clothes bag, but the dirty clothes, well, they need to be compressed also. It just spreads out and takes up tons and tons of space. Maybe a compressed bag with mesh ends or a couple of compression straps around it, that would help a whole lot. Food case, I've got to get into this now because my wife needs a couple of things. We have the stove, and we have, this is a new addition, an electric griddle. This electric griddle is quite nice for making pancakes, which you can mix up pretty easily, and for making grilled cheese sandwiches, and works out really well. Don't forget the cords. All of these things necessary for cooking. A pot, which with condiments in it, spices. A pot, which is, I don't know, 3 quarts, which seems to be plenty for us so far. Making pasta all the time. A skillet for putting meat in with the pasta. This is a collapsible spongy bowl, silicone bowl for salads, and all the rest of the stuff. This is a propane stove, nice old one. There's a propane, a couple extra propanes down in the basement, which I haven't shown you yet. Sugar and Parmesan and random stuff, and and coffee, air press Legos, of course, because we bought them. Plenty of extra space for all the things we might need. Now for the basement and the sub-basement. This was a bunch of games for the kids, which we never actually used. But if you're gonna stay in one place for a longer time, that's great. These are shoes. Multiple pairs of shoes that we didn't use. Backpack that was never used. A mug that is pretty great, but it's just for storage right now. That's for storage. This was a bag that we didn't use. Ziplocs, garbage bags. This is a solo stove, campfire. This is the base I made for it, solo stove campfire base. These were in the top on the left-hand side, just for padding, extra that I actually sent a box of stuff home that went in the box home. This is a little brush to clean out the tent. It gets a bunch of gunk in it, so clean out the tent every few days. This is a big old spoon to stir the fire. This is, my wife is obsessed with Shreddies from Canada. Not available here, had to buy that one. This is a huge, very absorbent towel for when the tent gets wet. It really works out well. These are wood pellets for the campfire stove. Lighter for the campfire stove. Made my coffee in this for a while. A bunch of meds for the kids. Meds for the kids. Meds for the kids. A Keurig that we bought in Canada. New condition for like $17. Gotta have that, right? All right, here we are in the sub-basement. Middle of a platform on stilts that allowed me to, on the left-hand side, place a mattock and a hammer. There's a hatchet in there somewhere. There's a hatchet down there, some rope, extra straps, a seatbelt I purchased, fire starters, more fuel for the fire, 2 extra propane containers, a couple of seats we used back here for the kids, a cane that we purchased on the trip because my kid got hurt, heater, electric heater, extra food stuffs, things we purchased. Turns out that there's a whole lot of space here for things we purchased. So next time, if we can reduce a couple of things, we'll be able to purchase in place, which is kind of cool. So I think we have a system that's pretty well worked out. And again, over here on at the bottom to the very base, there is books. And this right here, this is coffee that my wife ended up not drinking. And this is a second set of binoculars, a big fire starter, a few other random things sitting in there. In this little mesh bag, turns out that it's a whole lot more convenient to keep all my stuff separate from the rest of the family's with a couple of these microfiber towels that I actually took 4 and sewed them into 2. But the really great microfiber towels. My brush, my toothbrush, all of my toiletries inside that bag with, when they're dry, these things. And that's it. Worked out really well. We put a whole bunch of stuff in between the seats that those kids had to climb over. First was the cooler. Right behind that, the big black box. Cooler, $100 Ozark Trail. It's a perfect size and tall enough to fit milk. It's got 2 of these latches. Seem to work pretty well. Seals up pretty good. And what we have in it, gotta have milk for cereal. This is the butter we use for all our sandwiches. Happens to have chocolate milk in there. This stuff, salsa, not that particular brand, but salsa helps me poo. And this is our tub. You gotta have a boat because these things will fall in the water, not perfectly well sealed, and then they'll get tons of water inside them. So you gotta have a boat for those to sit inside. It's basic. It's got some Coke in there sometimes too. But that's it. That's all we have in it. Works really well. And one more little cranny, one more little nook. So down here, underneath the very rear seat where 2 of our children sat, are 1 seat, 2 seats, a stool, another stool. This is a patch kit, a tire patch kit. This is where all of our passports, where the cash went. Just, a little bit of security, right? Somebody's determined they're going to get through it. Some jumper cables, a hammock, which we didn't end up using, med kit, tool kit, and that's our last space. Almost 10,000 miles. We did it. System worked pretty well. We'll fix some things for next time. Thanks for watching Bike Physics, for all the bicycles and motorcycles and family adventures. And thanks for that thumbs up too. Really helps a lot. New videos most Tuesdays. Subscribe for more. If you haven't figured it out yet, I got this other channel called Learn Physics. It's all about physics and education and that kind of thing. So check that out too.